the Pistons are in a full-on tank. And Sadiq Bey has been playing more power forward and been playing well at power
Way
forward
better.
for them. So that kind of leaves Jerami Grant as someone who could be traded. And I do think he would be a really good player for a team to pick up at the deadline. But I got to be honest, I was looking through the teams and I was like trying to find a trade partner for him, and I couldn't really find a good one. Have you thought of any?
Yeah, Jeremy Grant's like value, like his value to the Pistons isn't as what it was like last year and stuff, because now they have Sadiq Bey who's playing better and more improved as a power forward. And then if you look forward into the next year's draft, the top three
Yeah.
picks are projected power forwards. So, with Chet and Pablo, those are the top two guys. They're projected power forwards. So projecting into the future, like if you get a top three pick, those guys can play power forward with Sadiq at small forward. Even if you get like a fifth pick, you're probably going to draft a small forward and move Sadiq to the power forward, right? So you can move Grant away, get that cap space open, maybe get like a little bit of improvement at the center spot because Isaiah Stewart and Kelly Olynyk hasn't played at all, and Isaiah Stewart isn't having great this year. So that cap space is going to be very valuable for them. So this is why I think the Pistons will trade Jerami Grant this offseason. And then you can look at it two ways. Do you go to the Atlanta Hawks and get already young guys who are there? Or do you go to a team like the Boston Celtics, who really don't have that young guy, but can give you 2 or 3 first-round picks? So that's why I think there's phone calls are going to be happening a lot. Which young guy would teams be willing to get rid of? And then you go to Atlanta, someone like Boston, would you give us 2, 3 first-round picks? What's the protection, right? Is it going to be like top 5 protected those picks, top 10? So it's whoever gives, I think, the picks with the least protection, the most picks with the least protection, is going to get Grant. So it could be almost any team because Grant's on a pretty affordable contract, under 20 million. So really, it's hard to speculate which team's going to get him because every team wants him because he's a great player. He could play power forward, he could play small forward, he could shoot the ball, he could play great defense, he could play within a system as seen with those Denver years. He could play along stars. He can play by himself as the first option, as we've seen in these Pistons years. He's just so versatile that every team wants him, similar to a Miles Turner. Like every team wants Miles Turner. It's just whoever gives the most picks.
Yeah, see, when I was trying to find a trade partner for him, it's like, to me it doesn't make sense for a bad team to trade for him because he's not a star that you can necessarily build around, and it doesn't make sense for someone who's already a contender to trade for him. So I think it's going to be one of those fringe teams like the Celtics or the Hawks, like you mentioned, that like they're definitely in the playoff mix, and adding a guy like Grant without giving up too much would maybe put them over that edge. But yeah, it's kind of hard to gauge his value for me, right? Like, is it like how many picks do you attach and so on?
Yeah.
But I guess we'll just have to see what the market decides.
Yeah, it's hard to like give a boatload of picks because he is an expiring. So you don't want to be ending up giving like 3 picks, right? 3 first-round picks, and this guy leaves at the end of the 6 months, right? Yeah. It's not like a Miles Turner where he has 3 years left on his contract, right? So a team that I think is going to make a heavy push for him, and it's going to make a push for the finals, is the Chicago Bulls. I think Patrick Williams has a lot of value as a trade asset. I think him plus maybe that Portland Trailblazers pick that they got in like the whole Larry Nance trade, whatever. I think you attach that and maybe a couple seconds here and there, and I think that gets it done because I think Patrick Williams is that kind of a player. But the only issue there is making the cap work. It's like, what else would they have to add to make the cap work? Is it worth it then? Because I know Derek Jones Jr. makes like $9 million, so he probably has to get added and stuff like that. But yeah, Chicago Bulls would be my favorite to land Jerami Grant.
Okay, I didn't think of the Bulls. That's interesting, and I guess he would kind of be relegated to Denver Jerami Grant, right? He would kind of be that 4th option, whereas coming from the first option, really in Detroit, probably not the ideal situation for him. But like you said, they're title
championship.
They're championship contenders for real. There's a team that already has a lot of offensive firepower and all go-to offensive guys. Adding Jerami Grant, who signed in Detroit for the reason of wanting to take on more responsibility. Yeah. Maybe there would be some chemistry issues there. I don't know. My thinking is like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, because they're already playing amazing. Yeah. But that's interesting. That is interesting. It would depend on how much they have to give up. Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing I can see is Jerami Grant just be like all right, let me just play hardcore defense or whatever,
Yeah.
like give it all my all in defense for 6 months, try to win the ring, and
Yeah.
then go somewhere where I can score 20 points again. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
Chicago Bulls wouldn't mind that. If they win a ring, they win a ring. They don't care
Yeah,
what they give
yeah,
up to get that ring, right?
yeah.
So I think this could be like a short term kind of like marriage to win a championship. And then Jerami Grant kind of leaves, kind of like what Marc Gasol did for the Raptors. You know what I mean? He came away halfway season, played amazing defense. But then, you know, after that, Marc Gasol, the Raptors kind of dispersed ways.
That is really, really, really interesting, because I think if you literally just add Denver Jerami Grant to that Bulls team, it makes a huge difference. He was awesome defensively, hit some threes, hit some shots, and then
great defense on LeBron.
Exactly, amazing defense on LeBron. You add that guy, even if he doesn't do any more than he did on Denver, that would just be a huge addition. It's just, would he be willing to take that step back? But when you get traded at the deadline and you're 2 months away from playoff time, and you see that playoff run in sights, like
title,
it's probably a little easier to take that step back. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here so you never miss the best clips from Stretch the Floor. Hit the links in the description below to find us on all podcast platforms, and follow us on Instagram.